Parent estrangement. It's an epidemic in our country. Today's video, I'm going to talk about the reasons that lead to adult children being estranged from their parents, the pain that's caused on both sides, what you can possibly do about it, and some book recommendations. If you're new to my channel, my name is Tracy. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist in private practice in the state of Massachusetts, and welcome back if you've been following my channel. I'm snowed in today. Right now it's about a foot of snow, and I love snow days. It's just a cozy way to settle in and reset. So let's talk about estrangement. It is an epidemic in our country, and I don't think that it's the behaviors that are new, the toxic behaviors. I think it's been around for centuries, but we live in an era where people are not tolerating abuse anymore. They're speaking up, they're taking space, they're setting boundaries, and I can understand why. And it doesn't happen overnight. Think of estrangement as like a slow burn, like a candle wick burning. It takes time, and those repeated patterns by parents, either the mother, the father, or caregiver, that over time take a toll on that child. So some of the behaviors that I see time and time again that lead to adult children not tolerating things anymore. So some of the terms you've probably heard of, and some might be new. So for example, gaslighting. Gaslighting is when somebody comes to you to explain how they feel about something, and the person on the receiving end dismisses, says things like, "Oh, you're so sensitive. It didn't happen like that. Get over it. You don't know what you're talking about." And I explain to clients, if this is how you feel, nobody on the planet should have a right to tell you any different in terms of how you feel. So that's gaslighting. Stonewalling is a little similar, but it's more of a silent toxic trait. It's again when your child comes to you to talk about an issue and you shut down, deliberately shut down, and refuse to talk about it. So that's stonewalling. Another thing I see a lot is parentification and enmeshment. So parentification usually starts in childhood, and it's when a caregiver or a parent, either deliberately or not deliberately, puts their problems on you to either help you to solve their problems or to hold the emotional space for their emotional dysregulation or emotions, and that is a burden on the child. Okay, it's not supposed to be that way. It's backwards. It's the other way around. And enmeshment is when there's no separation between adult content or material or discussions, and the child grows up and they hear all about it. So there's no, it's like enmeshed. Again, that is a burden for the child. And if that has happened in childhood, it tends to continue in adulthood. So an adult parent who trauma dumps, repeatedly turns to their child to fill their emotional needs, is a burden. It doesn't matter that the child is an adult now. Now, I'm not saying that you can't, if you have an adult child, that you can't talk about tough topics or some painful experiences. What I'm talking about are those patterns where the child or the adult feels like they don't know how to help, or it's too much, or it's too one-sided. Those are where it can become toxic. Another toxic trait is lack of boundaries, and this one is huge. Just because your adult child is still your offspring, you don't have a right to dictate and control their life. It is a privilege when your adult offspring wants to be in your life. Okay, I know that they say blood is thicker than water, but I don't think that's the case, and it's certainly changing as time goes on. So setting boundaries, such as asking your adult child what they would like to do around the holidays, for example. You can't just expect or demand that your adult child is going to come around. Or maybe your adult child is now married, or they're in a relationship with a significant other, and you're meddling in and you're crossing boundaries. That is a huge one. That is one of the fastest ways to find yourself in estrangement with your adult child or offspring. Not taking accountability is another one. You know, if, like I said earlier, the adult child, it's a slow burn. It does not happen overnight where they wake up and decide, I need to take space for my family. I need to walk a different path. It happens over time. And it's painful. It's painful for the adult child and the parent who's estranged. I mean, if you think about it, who doesn't want to have a parent in their life for the rest of their life? If it was up to them, they want a healthy relationship, though. Because there are milestones that are being missed. If your adult child has children and you're estranged, you don't get to have a relationship with your grandchild. That's tragic. You know, it's painful. And so, or to just pick up the phone and to just call and check in and have nice conversations, that is all out the window when estrangement is on the table. So if you are estranged, I understand the pain that you're going through, but we do have to look at what led to that fallout. We have to look at ourselves. So I have a son, he's 28, and even though he's still my offspring, he's still my kid, there are times that I want to tell him what to do. But we have to be tactful. We have to be careful how we communicate that, because they are their own person. Okay? You wouldn't like someone telling you what to do all the time and then putting a guilt trip on you, or not taking accountability, or railroading you with not setting boundaries and respecting your personal space and your personal emotions. It takes a toll. It is very taxing on the system. In addition to everything else that's going on in the world and all the stressors, it's, you know, family dynamics where they're toxic can be a big problem. And so I would advise you, if you, like I said, are finding yourself in an estrangement with your adult child, to look at what happened. What can you do to try to repair that relationship? It's not uncommon that there's a period after estrangement where the adult offspring comes around, and because time has gone by, and they often contemplate, well, maybe I still can have a relationship, or maybe they have changed, or maybe they understand the pain that has been happening and they're willing to work on that. So you might find that they do reach out. And if they do, lean into that and look at your role in it. Now, I'm not saying that adult offspring don't have their own ways of being toxic. This is a two-way street. You know, this toxic behavior has to be looked at all sides. Okay, so I'm not saying that adult offspring don't play a role, but They learn from their parents how to navigate conflicts and boundaries and how to regulate their emotions. And if that didn't happen in childhood, those dynamics are going to play out into adulthood. So, just as a recap, some of the behaviors to look for and to work on is taking accountability for your missteps. You have to respect boundaries. Don't do the parentification and enmeshment. Seek a professional or some friendships where you can have that outlet. You don't want to put that on your adult children, because that, like I said, that's a burden for them. The guilt trips. Guilt trips are so hard. You know, as a psychotherapist, I see time and time again that shame, guilt, and grief are some of the heaviest, densest emotions, and it truly affects one's mental health, their functioning, and how they relate to the world. Those are heavy. So if you can do anything to repair that and to stop doing those types of behaviors, you might bear the fruits of that, and that's a beautiful thing. So some books that I would recommend are, one of them is called I'm Done Crying by Cheryl McGregor. She's a parent who's estranged from her adult child, and like I said, it's so painful. It's so painful. Another book is called Rules of Engagement by Joshua Coleman, PhD. So those are a couple of recommendations. And I would highly, if you can, seek out therapy to help you navigate the estrangement. And lastly, I would like to talk about the impact on the adult child from having toxic patterns in relationships. The things that I see over and over again. One of them is often low self-esteem, fawning, where they feel like they have to do for everybody else, that they can't speak their mind or be assertive out of fear of the consequence if they do. That's not healthy. That's really tough to navigate. Anger is a big one, because the adult child has carried the wounding or pain or emotional issues stemming from family dynamics. And what we stuff down or suppress, it bubbles over somehow, whether it's in substance abuse, anger, lashing out, whatever it is. Avoidance. So if the adult child feels like they can't change the family dynamics, then they often just avoid, which leads to the shutdown or the estrangement from their family members. So you have to look at the 4 F's of stress, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Those are real issues that happen, and it's the nervous system comes into play, whether it's in hyperactive sympathetic arousal or shutdown. So our responses to stress and trauma, they show up in our responses. What do we do when we feel stressed or cornered or trapped or in a conflict? So those are that's the impact that the estranged adult child or adult deals with. There's a ripple effect. And like I said, these problems do not start one day in adulthood. It's usually been ongoing, sometimes for decades. And I see in my private practice, I work with either the estranged parent, so I see their pain that they're going through, or I work a lot with the adult estranged child who it's been their decision to take that step back. And I see them through their milestones and their pain of not being able to reach out because it's just, they have so much pain that they're carrying and they feel like they can't change their parent. All they can do is work on themselves. So I don't take sides. I just educate, I validate, and I try to help them navigate the situations. So I hope this video was helpful, and I probably will do a part 2 at some point in time with more recommendations about books or podcasts of that nature, because like I said, this is an endemic in our country. Parent estrangement is very real. And if you find yourself in that situation, my heart goes out to you because it is very painful. Thank you for watching, and if you like my videos, subscribe, and I will see you next time.